On May 25th, 2023, Tristan Johnson released his first studio album titled All These Liars I've Trusted, which takes us to today. In this video, I will be talking about Tristan Johnson's first studio album with a track-by-track analysis as well as a summary of the history of the making of the album. I am Tristan Johnson, and I will be talking in a third point of view perspective about my album. You will hear me refer to myself as the narrator to continue this third person point of view. Before we get into a full track by track analysis, I feel like there is a common ground that needs to be established, a common overview. All These Liars I've Trusted is the first studio album released by Tristan Johnson. Tristan boasts the fact that he solely wrote, produced, and recorded the project. The album features 9 songs on a standard edition with an impressive runtime of about 38 minutes, making the average song over 4 minutes long. The album featured 2 lead singles, although the artist claimed that there was supposed to be a third. The 2 lead singles being Say It and By Forever, with the third supposed to be Explain. Tristan claims he wanted to release Explain as a lead single as it had diverse vocals, but it was said that there wasn't enough time. The album was first announced in 2020, 3 years before it would actually be released. It would be talked about from the artist, with the name always being a variation of what it came to be. The only other name the album was once called was, quote, All of These Liars That I Have Trusted, so which it was then condensed. The first ever post of the album would be the announcement of the first lead single, Say It. There had been about 3 prior posts, but they were just mock designs and unofficial track listing. On December 29th, 2022, cover art for the song was released with its info regarding the release. This date was said to be later on a date with a meaning in the context of the name of the album. It was said that the song was done and was ready to be released. It wouldn't be released though for almost another 4 months. I thought I could just upload it to streaming platforms and that it would be there to stream. I didn't know, with his past distributor, I'd have to wait 28 days for it to be sent to stores. The artist said in a podcast episode on his channel. He'd also explained the mixing of the track would be a challenge, which he had to spend time to re-record. The song would formally be released on March 19th, 2023, with the mixing of this release also not being up to his standards. What it sounded like on my computer, which I uploaded on, sounded completely different from the release version. Tristan added when on the topic of the release, the song was met with mixed reviews, with some perceiving the depth of his voice positively and some arguing that it wasn't diverse enough. The main feedback was that Tristan's voice was too quiet. Tristan would then go on to release By Forever, the second single on April 21st, 2023. This song was met more positively, with the mixing being better. What people commented about this song, though, was the drawn-out nature of the beat. The song was nearly 6 minutes long, with Say It also coming in at 5 minutes long, so it's safe to say that these aren't short songs. People claim that the songs didn't have enough momentum for their length. We often see artists making their debut albums more upbeat to try and curate to a particular artist. A common example of this is Lana Del Rey. Her debut album, Born to Die, is much more mainstream and upbeat sonically compared to her follow-up albums Ultraviolence and especially Honeymoon. But, for Tristan, he was releasing the slow songs first, shedding light on other indie artists like Ethel Cain with her debut album, Preacher's Daughter. The album was soon then after announced to be released on May 25th, 2023, which would mean for the artist that there wouldn't be enough time to release his planned third single, Explain. Had I been able to release Say It on December 29th of the previous year, I would have had enough time to release Explain. Tristan explained, as Say It was supposed to be released on the said December date. Explain, the seventh song off the standard album, would mimic the first two singles with the ominous, drawn out instrumental. The song, said by the artist, didn't perform as well as he thought it would when thinking of releasing it as a single. In a way, Tristan said it was a good thing because it most likely wouldn't have performed well as a single, as people had already received two very long singles of the same nature, making momentum for the album less built up. People wanted something else. And this is where I've Had Enough comes in. This song is the final track on the album and features a completely different vibe of the rest of these songs previously mentioned. While sharing that rock element, it is in more of a rap upbeat form with more troll-like, diss-like lyrics that fans liked. The song would be the best performing song following the album's release and become the main after release single for the standard version of the album. And it is in a sense the title track, with the main line of the chorus being, "All these liars that I've trusted." Tristan would say in a podcast episode when covering this song that the title of the album actually came from this song, as this song was written before the complete track list of the album was made. In fact, Say It, Why Now, Bye Forever, Explain, Stop, and I've Had Enough were all songs Tristan had wrote before putting them on an album track list. Only the songs number 1, number 2, and number 3 were songs written deliberately for the album. Tristan claimed in a podcast episode covering Explain that he expected that said song to perform better than what it did for the vocals. But, using this logic, it makes sense that Stop performed greatly. Although the vocal depth of the verses aren't anything special, the chorus offers high notes with a change in instrumental, which made it stand out more than Explain. Because although Explain had vocals with more depth than the other two singles, they stayed the same over the whole song, allowing Stop to perform better. Now that we have covered the overview, I think it is time that we do the track-by-track analysis. Tristan explains through his podcast episodes that the album is about 3 different people. They are each a toxic situation where the said person couldn't be trusted. We'll touch more upon this later, but just know for now that this is where the numbered songs like number 1, number 2, and number 3 come into play, as those are each about a different person, all 3 people being those said people the album's about. The first song on the album is Say It, which also shares being the first single. With it being the first song on the album, we can assume that it is the first person Tristan is writing about, meaning it's the original Catalyst experiences that shaped the album chronologically. Say It is pretty straightforward. It's about someone who you like or want to have a close relationship with, but public perception of what that would look like for them makes them angry at you. A very common example of what this can look like and potentially what the song is about in particular are down low relationships. She further explained, an openly gay person can like a closeted person, but the public perception of the closeted person being outed can shape the way they look at the openly gay person, reflecting the hatred of societal views and internalized homophobia. The lyrics, "Why is it when people asked, I would get attacked?" and "The things people said, are you still mad at me for it?" reflect the idea of the song talking about a DL relation. If the closeted person is getting asked about being in a potential relationship with the openly gay person, they tend to hold resentment towards the gay person instead of those who are asking. In their mind, there must have been something the gay person said or did that exemplified the questions. The reality of this is that the public must have already had an idea or suspicion that the said closeted person was gay. Tristan explains this song with its meaning and experiences in a podcast episode. Tristan explains he liked a guy whom he was more into the idea of. Tristan develops the concept that most times he develops feelings for someone who he likes the idea of receiving attention from based on the situation. This circumstance was the fact the guy was popular. This is a more common shared experience than a lot of people would think. A lot of times, we fall in love with the situation the love between us and another person is placed in. Or, the said situation can exemplify that love. For some people, down low relations, gay or not, exemplify the love or lust someone might have for another person, as it's something they want to keep secret and it makes them feel as if they're getting away with something. Tristan shared the fact that he told one of his closest friends about his crush on this guy, whom in turn started telling people. This is how said things people said started. The chorus states, "Why are you mad at me? Why can't you trust me?" In a direct response to the said things people are saying. Tristan just wanted to communicate with this said love interest, but it seems as if they were believing the things people were telling him over what Tristan was directly telling him. Tristan just wanted communication between the two of them, hence, say it now. What is it you're mad about? But it seems as if communication now came to a halt. This transitions into the next song, number 1, which aside from the lyrical content, we can assume that it is about the same person as the previous song, since it is confirmed by the artist that the 3 numbered songs are about 3 individuals the album is about, and this one directly follows Say It. In a podcast episode, Tristan confirms this, following by explaining the context of the song. Tristan explains that this guy, who we'll now refer to as number 1, tried acting nice after the initial interaction, where Tristan described number 1 as mad at him. He explained that this on and off feeling makes it harder to get over the situation, as the feelings he develops are never constant, as neither is the treatment from number 1. This explains the lyrics, "Why would I do what I did?" It is very common for someone to ask themselves why they would let themselves stay in negative situations, although accepting a situation as it is and getting over it is harder than it may seem. The chorus comes to the conclusion that Tristan found it now bizarre that he stayed through everything, with number 1 believing all the rumors. This confirms that what people were saying turned into gossip, which aside from serious inquiries is what mainly made number 1 so upset with Tristan. Another verse asks, "Would you even care to notice my heart that was broken from what had happened?" When we get into relationships and things turn south, we often questioned if the other person was aware of the turmoil that they were putting the other person through, when in reality, they're only thinking about themselves and finding their own way through what they're going through, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes, wherein if someone is taking our feelings into consideration is ironic, as we aren't taking what they're feeling into consideration. Tristan says that this is exactly how he coped with the situation later on. He realized the guy was going through a very challenging time internally, as he was closeted, and was tackling it through internalized homophobia. Tristan explains in the podcast episode covering the song number 1 that he had a friend online whom he told the situation to. Later, revealed by the online friend to Tristan, number 1 had sent nudes to him on a recurring basis, confirming that number 1 was in fact gay. The next song on the album is number 2, which it is fact that this is about a new person. This person would go on to have a long-lasting effect on the album and Tristan's future music, which he revealed when going over the covers of the song, which we'll get into. Number 2 is about a new love interest, which follows the end of the last one, number 1. In number 2, another confusing situation is presented to Tristan, to which he spends time and effort trying to understand all of it. Tristan is already aware of the fact he is loving someone he shouldn't, which is very vague. It could mean that the person he is giving love to doesn't deserve it, or someone whom he cannot receive love from because the situation is not one the two should be in. Forbidden love. Tristan questions what it is he can do for it to feel okay to love this new love interest. The verse introduces a vague but ominous topic, with Tristan putting himself out there, letting the love interest know he can be comfortable around Tristan. Tristan further explains that he doesn't want to be used, foreshadowing the feeling Tristan already is, which he is starting to suspect. Tristan then tells his love interest to not do anything that'll hurt him, which he suspects will happen, a reoccurring theme. Tristan has an idea of why this love interest is acting in a peculiar way, but it is telling the love interest he'll have to, in essence, come clean if Tristan isn't right. And maybe the thing that the love interest is doing is actually nothing at all. Tristan explains he felt, quote, alone, since you pay no attention to me. Perhaps what Tristan didn't want the love interest to do was make him feel alone, which the love interest achieved by doing nothing. We see this in a lot of people who are delusional about being in love, which Tristan has revealed he has been in situations of that nature. The next song is number 3, which talks about the last person the album is about. The song opens like the previous two with the chorus, which Tristan explains the paradox that this person, number 3, in the beginning wanted him, but ended up being the main one that hurt him. Tristan introduces the idea of growing comfortable with number 3, as he told them, quote, things, but they ended up using this against him to blackmail him. These things that number 3 were using to blackmail Tristan are suspected to be things that they didn't want to hear or accept, going back to the idea of number 3 liking Tristan. In other words, the two had different feelings towards each other. This can be confirmed by the next lines, with Tristan rhetorically asking why number 3 would do all the things if the said things didn't make them jealous. This can lead the audience to believe that the things Tristan told number 3 consisted of his liking of either number 1 or number 2, perhaps both, leading number 3 to realize they weren't one of the people Tristan had feelings for. The verse that follows furthers the idea of number 3 wanting to be with Tristan, as Tristan explains that number 3 would get mad over little things, yet would still want to be with him, almost like a controlling partner. It is explicitly stated next that Tristan didn't reciprocate feelings, as he infers that number 3 is blackmailing him due to his unreciprocated feelings. Tristan is aware that this situation is not typical, as most people wouldn't treat him this way in this scenario, which gives the audience the idea that number 3 is like an antagonist. The next song is Why Now, which follows the number 3 storyline. Tristan explains he knows that this person wasn't one he could consider a friend, as he saw what they were doing. He solidifies and clarifies on the idea of number 3 blackmailing him, adding that the things they were saying about him weren't even true. He knew that this isn't what a friend would do, but revealed he had to deal with it because those around him viewed him as a dramatic person otherwise. In essence, he had to stay close to number 3 despite knowing he shouldn't, and he didn't want to, but it's not like those around him would believe him anyway. The chorus opens with the lines, "Why now are you wanting to be my friend when you wanted our friendship to end?" which can be viewed a couple of different ways. Number 3 was staying close for it to be easier to use Tristan, which was a fear he had for number 2, and their growing closeness with number 3. The whole friendship ending aspect can be viewed as number 3 wanting the friendship to end and turn into a relationship, or just not being what a real friend is like. The end of the chorus asks number 3 as to why they want Tristan after treating him the way they are, because their treatment makes it seem as if they hate Tristan. Mixed signals like this would become a major theme for all of Tristan's music. The next verse says, "You stabbed me in the back. I'm not gonna forget that." Referring back to the idea of number 3 not being what a real friend is, Tristan then states that he obviously dislikes number 3, but it is something not conveying to them, where Tristan says they cannot take a hint. The following song is Bye Forever, which happens to be the album's second promotional single. The song develops upon all themes and storylines in the album, but Tristan confirming in his podcast episodes that the lyrics on this version of Bye Forever were about number 3. This version implying that there was a past version that Tristan rewrote to refit the story. The song starts off with breaking off from somebody, distancing yourself, as you have found someone new to take their spot, as you are longing to replace them for time now. Tristan explains this new person was someone who was nice to them, something completely opposite of number 3, which was something they never met their promise of being. The idea of there being someone else will be a big theme to come. The chorus is Tristan officially leaving, as he explains all number 3 did was treat him bad, while unable to leave him alone. The following verse is a longing tale of seeking validation. Tristan explains how he didn't like this person and knew he shouldn't, yet still wanting good nights from them, longing for simplistic care. Tristan then states everything that number 3 did to him was done due to the fact Tristan didn't say anything about it, allowing the cycle to continue. Tristan then asks in the bridge, "Why were you so mean? It made me want to leave." This is ironic, as it took Tristan too long to leave in the first place when he knew from the start what this situation at hand was like. Tristan ends the song with, "Have fun without me, I know you can't do that," leaving a petty note for number 3 to hear, as Tristan was aware that number 3 lived through him. The following song would have been the third promotional single, Explain, which was, at the last minute, decided not to be a single and just a regular track on the album, due to scheduling and non-innovating material. Tristan states that Explain is back to the number 2 storyline, with Tristan falling deeper in the cycle of romantic love. Explain develops on the themes introduced in number 2, worrying about the unknown of what's happening to number 2. Tristan explains at the start of the song that he cannot explain what's happening, nor can he explain the treatment he's receiving. He longs for the explanation, despite feeling like he won't get closure. Like Tristan questioned in number 1, he's wondering why he is staying through all of it, developing on the hopeless romantic theme. Even when it's rough, Tristan will stay as he wishes for the best outcome to still happen. Tristan then states in the second verse that number 2 is acting like the two didn't have something, as number 2 is essentially ignoring Tristan. This is part of the reason Tristan suspects something is going on, as this harsh switch is not something he is used to or can explain. The next song is Stop, which goes back to the storyline of number 3. Tristan explains that number 3 is making empty apologies, probably for the way they are treating him, despite the fact they're not changing. Tristan rhetorically asks if they can just leave him alone, as he has accepted the situation as what it is and is tired of this dynamic. Earlier, he mentioned the fact that he had to deal with the treatment due to others finding him dramatic if not, which is ironic seeing as number 3 was the one being dramatic. Now, in the chorus, he explains that everyone is now tired of number 3. This switch will be developed upon in later music, says the artist. Tristan introduces in the second verse that he wishes that number 3 got what they deserved years ago. This implies that what number 3 is currently facing, the switch up from everyone around them, now not believing them, is something that should have happened sooner, which makes sense when Tristan could see right through them, but no one else could. Perhaps, if this would have taken place a few years ago, what Tristan went through and with what number 2 is currently going through would never have happened. The last song on the standard version of the album is I've Had Enough, acting as the title track of the album, reflective in the chorus. Tristan puts a disclaimer on the lyric page that this song is, quote, not to be taken seriously, as it is simply a fun track that I intentionally made different from the rest, talking about the lyrical content. The song itself is just a major diss track on all 3 people the album is about, perfectly ending the album. The first lines are the chorus, where Tristan explicitly states, all these liars that I've trusted, they're so ugly and so busted, all their lies make me so disgusted. This is why the album was almost titled, quote, all these liars that I've trusted, rather than its condensed name. Tristan explains in the verses, first stanza, that he is not insecure of what he has been put through, primarily from number 3, as he is now turning it into a profession. This indicates that the final songwriting of the song took place after the events in the prior songs took place, as Tristan is now healed. Tristan explains in the next stanza that lying is what number 3 does best. Tristan explains more in the second verse that this person is a perfect manipulator, continuing to argue despite the fact Tristan would catch them in a lie. Tristan further develops the idea that no one is now on their side, as they are now wondering why no one likes them. Again, going back to that number 3 aspect. Tristan enlightens them by telling them they're rude, feeling like he has the answers and power over them now, reversing the power dynamic and ending the album. So that would be the standard version of the album, fully released on May 25th, 2023. Teasing for a new single would happen, with a photo posted by the artist with 1016 teased in the background. After a video was posted by Tristan writing on a whiteboard confirming the date, it was announced that a new single, Dummies, would be released that day. The video ending with a snippet of the song, following a similar style of I've Had Enough lyrically and following Stop instrumentally. Tristan recently explained the lyrical content of this song in a particular podcast episode. Tristan explains this song is about all the people who try and bring you down no matter what, just essentially preying on your downfall. Tristan explains that people take him too seriously, involving themselves in his business, but his response to having his business invaded is deemed as radical. Tristan explains he is no dummy, but these people might be, as they are the opposite of him and he isn't anything like them. Tristan, in essence, does not align with these people. The second verse explains people listen to every single word he says, but turn a blind eye when it comes to him explaining how he feels. This is reflected in cancel culture. Tristan explicitly says that this song is targeted, which it is implied that it is towards people who have tried to cancel him or bring him down before. The song's lyrical content would fit the album's lyrical themes, but instead it was released as a standalone single. As the year closed, Tristan did more and more promotion with more music coming. It was later announced that a deluxe version was on its way, with a release date initially to be December 29th, 2023. On the 1-year anniversary, he announced Say It being the lead single. The deluxe would actually not come out on this day, as Tristan explained he went through more turmoil with his distributor. The distributor wouldn't approve of the covers, even though Tristan made them his own. These covers being all Billie Eilish songs, more specifically Halley's Comet, Ilo Milo, and I Love You. So, Tristan took the time to rework them, along with ending his run with the current distributor at the time, going through a new one for its release. At this point, the deluxe was supposed to be only 13 tracks, with the addition of dummies and the 3 Billie Eilish covers. As time went on, he posted photos teasing the release of these covers, with a photo of a comet titled 4, another photo being 2 Ilo Milo characters titled 9, and the last photo being an airplane cabin derived from the lyric I Wish We Never Learned to Fly from Billie Eilish's I Love You, caption 10. Later revealed through the track listing, these would be the order of the songs in the track listing, with Halley's Comet being track 4, Ilo Milo being track 9, and I Love You being track 10. Tristan explained in a podcast episode covering the covers that the covered songs were deliberately placed within the original track listing rather than added onto the end, as they were purposed to develop the themes in the songs they followed. Though, as time got closer to the 1-year anniversary of Bye Forever, Tristan announced that he'd be dropping a snippet from a new song, Cutting Ties. The snippet would be dropped on said anniversary, opposed to Say It's, as it would be closer to the 1-year anniversary of the album, which was when Tristan was planning on releasing the deluxe at this point. The snippet came out, and many people praised the production, some saying it sounded like Ken Carson, while others wished for vocals. Tristan explained that the snippet was a teaser, not the full song. The full song was to be available on the deluxe, which is what he said after the said deluxe was released. More promotion went on, and it was confirmed the deluxe were to be released on the 1-year anniversary of the album. This time, it would feature a vault track, adding an additional track to the track list, making the deluxe album now 14 songs, 5 more than the standard album. This additional track was confirmed to be a vault track, Cutting Ties. Tristan explained in the podcast episode covering the song that it was made in a music class at the end of the previous December, and found it fitting to be on the deluxe since it wasn't coming out in said December. So he rewrote it with alternate lyrics to fit his current situation, and extended the beat to make it a full-length song. Tristan explains in a recent podcast episode that this song was originally about an ex-friend of his that he dropped because she didn't like that he had other friends. He said it was ironic due to the fact this friend was friends with him when he went through all of the events with number 3, who was always starting arguments with him over the same thing. Tristan further explains that in the song, that this person had their boyfriend looking at Tristan's stories because while she had him blocked on everything, she was too obsessed with what he was doing. The new lyrics of the song, though, also talked about an ex-friend of Tristan's. Tristan explained that this friend wanted to hurt Tristan so bad that it was humorous, with them unable to take accountability, so instead they chose the easier option for themselves by cutting him off. Tristan then explained that this friend would guilt trip him by invalidating his feelings and crying when making them aware of the things they were doing along with its effects, as a way to get Tristan to stop holding them accountable. Further, Tristan explains that this friend went with him on an all-out excursion that his parents paid for his birthday, just for the friend to tell him a month later that they didn't want to be friends with him and had been feeling this way for a while. This person would blame their actions on Tristan rather than taking accountability. This person would cut off Tristan due to him not supporting their newly found relationship, when in fact, this friend had got with their friend's ex right after their breakup. Tristan would explain the last stanza of the song, explaining that the instrumental was made in a music class where it was only 40 seconds long to fit the original stanzas, but Tristan reworked it and lengthened it to fit the album about the situation. Tristan states that while their ex-friend's boyfriend might have helped write the message declaring the two not as friends anymore, the boyfriend also helped make the beat to the diss track. Following the release, Tristan would state that Cutting Ties was among his best performing songs, right under Say It and Bye Forever, but above I've Had Enough and Dummies. Tristan states that this is, in his opinion, his best song, from songwriting to instrumental. Now, on to the covers. Halley's Comet follows number 2 on the track list, but also thematically. Halley's Comet is heavily implied about a long-distance relationship. where Billie explains how it is 3 a.m. when it is midnight for her lover. She explains that her nights are never lonely now that she is dreaming about this person, even though she is not physically with them. The ending and transitioning of the song dwells into the themes of being hopelessly in love, informing a bit of anxiety about falling in love. This ominous theme is reflective in Tristan's music, where he feels like he cannot love number two unconditionally and is worried. Billie touches upon how she'd be in her brother's room, and Tristan said he related to it, as he'd sit in his room with his brother just talking about all the situations with said love interests. The next cover is Ilo Milo, which follows Explain. Billie, in this song, expresses fear of losing someone, wanting to protect them and avoid separation. Tristan, in Explain, is begging for an explanation to this abnormal behavior number two is expressing, as he fears something is going on that's deeper than surface level. The messages are somewhat opposite in the two songs, given the name Ilo Milo. As in Ilo Milo, Billie is okay with being told a lie, while Tristan, in Explain, is demanding answers. Both, though, express themes of loneliness and fear of someone leaving, doing whatever they can to keep the person they love around. The last and final cover is I Love You, following the same themes that Ilo Milo did. I Love You is formally about the overwhelming feelings that come with falling in love, where Billie negatively confronts her love interest saying, I love you, as it is something that she is not used to or is ready for. Could be commitment issues. Tristan explains that number two, in fact, also told him that he loved him, and Tristan too locked up and was very uncomfortable due to it not being normal behavior that he was used to. In the song, too, Billie explains that she loves this person, after time denying it, even though she didn't want to. This here is a central theme of Tristan's album, him loving people he knows he shouldn't or doesn't want to. The artist connects and relates to the theme of not wanting to love their lover that I Love You explains, as Tristan knows this lover is not optimal. Tristan would go on after the deluxe version of the album to release podcast episodes covering each part of the album making process, hence where this information comes from. While this was Tristan's first album, he definitely created a genre for himself, dark, alternative, bedroom pop. Tristan would self-produce, write, and record for all of his songs, and continue to do so for future music. Tristan has stated that the themes and dynamics introduced in his first album will all be further developed upon in future music. The power dynamic between number three and the love triangle including number two, along with the first lover number one introduced in Say It, all the way to the whole situation that inspired Cutting Ties, has all been confirmed to be elaborated further in future music. As Tristan's journey continues, stay tuned into his music on all streaming platforms. Follow his Instagrams, The Real Tristan Johnson, and Tristan Johnson Music, to stay up to date on all things Tristan Johnson. This was Tristan Johnson talking and explaining the whole analysis of my album, All These Liars I've Trusted, and a third point of view perspective, and kind of bittersweet to say, but this will be the last episode I do covering All These Liars I've Trusted. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you guys like this video. Bye, guys.